Thorsen. 10 to 14 million children are living and dying in institutions when they could be adopted. This fact is according to Elizabeth Bartholet, who is a faculty director of the Child Advocacy Program at Harvard Law School, published in Adoption Quarterly on September 1st, 2016. We can all agree that growing up in a loving, supportive environment is critical to a child's development. International adoption should be encouraged. First, I will talk about how international adoption benefits the child. Second, I will talk about the law reform that needs to happen. And finally, I will talk about the parent's responsibilities. First, let's talk about how it benefits the child. Orphans all around the world have better qualities of life once they are adopted. Structural neglect happens in many countries all the time with horrible consequences. Shelley Orr, who has a PhD in psychology, whose dissertation was published in May of 2018, states that staffing shortages cause the caregiver-child interactions to be brief, which has effects on their physical and mental health. Many institutions also lack needed resources such as beds and baby bottles. Formal education in institutions is extremely hard to find. Children deserve the best life possible. Stacy Thorsen, who is a mother to an internationally adopted child, in an interview conducted in October of 2019, states that most international adoptions are from third world countries to first world countries. This improves the child's quality of education, their chances to get a career, and their general quality of life. When Stacy toured a Chinese orphanage before she adopted her daughter, she saw young adults and teenagers who had grown up in that institution their entire lives, still living and working there, sewing blankets for tourists to buy. Once a child gets adopted, they have an increased access to upward mobility. Before a child can experience a loving family, they must first be given the chance to get adopted. International adoption laws must be changed. These laws should put the child first, not businesses or legislatures. Overregulation of international adoption can lead to corrupt businesses and individuals. An example of this is Alvin Nash. He was abandoned at the steps of a baby house when he was 3 months old. The country he was born in had a 3-month period in which only in-country adoptions could happen. This means that only adults inside that country were able to adopt him, and he did not get adopted. When he was 9 months old, he was matched with an American family. Unfortunately, due to the corruption, he was not allowed to go home until he was 20 months old. That's 11 months where he had a family, but he could not go home. Another unfortunately common story happened to Altnea, who grew up in Kyrgyzstan. She was matched with a family when she was very young. She had a condition that needed immediate medical attention. Unfortunately, due to bureaucratic delays and the eventual shutdown of that country's whole adoption program, she died without the access to Medicare. There are less adults that are willing and able to adopt a child internationally due to these current laws. Since 2004, there has been a 77% drop in international adoption rates. The laws in place are making the process longer and extremely expensive, with the average cost of adopting one child internationally is between $10,000 and $30,000 US. Once the paperwork is done, a parent's job is not over. Parents have many responsibilities once they adopt a child internationally. According to Jordan Montgomery and Nicholas Jordan, who both have PhDs in marriage and family therapy, published in the Child and Adolescent Social Work Journal in October of 2018, racial ethnic socialization, or RES for short, generally increases adoptees' outcomes. RES helps a child identify both the biological birth culture and their adoptive parents' culture. Some socialization practices include cultural exposure, preparation for bias, preparation for racial discrimination, and the opening of family discussions without judgment. This helps a child accept both sometimes conflicting parts of who they are. My interview revealed a real-life parent's opinion on the responsibilities that they have. She says that before a parent goes to adopt their child, they must realize that while they are excited to gain a new family member, the child is leaving the only life it has ever known. A parent has a responsibility to expose the child to their birth culture and deal with the developmental delays that happened to them in their early life. A parent is a lifelong advocate for their child. First, I talked about how international adoption benefits children all around the world. Second, I talked about why international adoption laws need to be reformed. Finally, I talked about the parent's responsibilities. International adoption should be encouraged. With the proper law reform, those 10 to 14 million children can find forever homes with loving families.